You're listening to the Exitology Unlock Your Profits, Unlock Your Potential show on the International Business Growth Radio Network. I'm your host, Jason Wally Waldron, and this season we are talking about adventures in value acceleration. And specifically this week, we have been talking about how to grow to exit and the value acceleration methodology. And we've been talking about successful examples of value acceleration. And so we spent a little bit of time talking about the methodology itself. And simply put, good exit planning is good business strategy. Good strategy is good exit planning. They're the same thing. And I want you to remember that. Another way to put it is build a business the right way and the exit will take care of itself. And so we've talked about how the value acceleration methodology works. We've talked about how it identifies the gaps. And then specifically, we've been focusing on the build part of things. And so building your cash flow and building your different types of capital so that the business is transferable and so that the business is something that you can step away from. And a few minutes ago, I was talking about some of the challenges and opportunities that a couple of the folks we've worked with in the automotive industry have experienced. And when they went through the question that we ask every 90 days, would you like to grow or would you like to exit? A funny thing has happened, and they have all chosen to keep growing. Now what I would like to do is walk you through a couple of situations that are a little bit different. And we're going to talk about value acceleration as it's applied to the supply chain, to the industrial services market, and the manufacturing market. And I want to start with a company who chose not to grow, but to grow and exit. And this company, they're in the they're in the manufacturing market, and they're actually in an what do I want to call it? They're part of the manufacturing world. They're a fabricator for aftermarket parts on 4x4s and things of that nature. And this company, they reached out to me because what they had done was they had overexpanded, and they were well into the 8-figure zone of a top-line revenue perspective, and they had a big old operation that they were incredibly great at optimizing. They had CNC machines all over the place. They had a good prototyping system in place for their new products. They had a good handle on who their competitors were, and they had a highly converting website with a very high ticket item, and probably importantly, it was the type of item that people who have discretionary income wanted to buy. So that's kind of the overall business case. But we were talking earlier about what happens in the value acceleration methodology, and there's a couple of different aspects to it. I just told you the business case. So one of the things that a certified exit planning advisor will ask you about as you go on the journey is they'll ask you about your business readiness. And in the case of this business, their readiness score was pretty high. And the reason I say that is because they had multiple potential acquirers visiting them, looking around their office. They had multiple, they're getting wined and dined and all that good stuff. And the business was ready. But the personal readiness was a really interesting thing. You had two owners in this business, and husband and wife, and all of the passion and all of the fun part of this business was in husband's side of things, and all of the grunt work and all of the overwhelm was held by the wife, and the wife was the ultimate decision maker, as is most of the time the case in that scenario. And the bottom line there is that from a pure business case, what this business would have wanted to do, if it was just a business case and they wanted to maximize the value of this business, they should have grown for 18 to 36 months. They should have put those numbers into a package, a story, and they should have taken this to an investment banker and maximized the value of the business. But because of the overwhelm, and because of the fact that they had some private equity and potential acquirers sniffing around their business, they got an offer they couldn't refuse. And so when it came time to make that consideration, do I grow or do I exit, they chose exit. And the great thing about what we were able to do for them is we were able to put multiple six figures of additional revenue into their pocket before the acquisition took place. And so we were still able to do some pretty great work with them at the very end, and kind of a lot of it was just gravy money. But while they still had 100% control of their business, they cleared a lot of nice looking checks. But at the other hand, from a business case, and I'm just putting my strategist hat on here, from just a business only case, what makes me sad in a sense for these folks is that someone else is going to be able to harvest the majority of the value from this business. And is that good? Is that bad? I guess it depends on how you look at it, right? But I hope you see how the value acceleration methodology can be applied to these different situations. At the end of the day, the important thing that I want you to hear is it's up to you, right? It's your business. And so we would have wanted to see them go a different direction if they had wanted to go there, but it's their business. So it's all about your optionality, my friends. Let's think about a different. We've worked with a number of different supply chain and industrial services and manufacturing companies, and I want you to think about another one. And this is a company who we're in the build phase with them. They've continued to reap the benefits of revenue growth, but we're maintaining and starting to build on profit margins. And so every 90 days when we have that discussion with them about would you like to grow or would you like to exit, this company is choosing growth. And they've got a number of years until they're planning to exit. And so when you think about their personal readiness, what is driving this? Well, one is that they're still pretty young. And by that I mean about 50. The other thing is that they want to use the business as a vehicle to pay down a bunch of debt on different real estate holdings. And then once that debt is there, the cash flow to fund most of the retirement will be in place. So there's a personal readiness aspect to this business. But on the business side, the cash cow, what we did when we walked into this business was the ownership and myself, we identified an opportunity to grow top-line revenue from $12 million a year to $20 million a year. And there's a number of different ways that we planned to do that. And so that's $8 million, is nearly doubling the business. And we thought it would take about 3 years to do that in a pretty aggressive time frame. And what we identified was, first of all, their competitive landscape consisted of about 5 other firms. The next thing that we identified was that they had a very powerful and strong sales team bench, consisting of, well, let's call it 4.5 people, because one of them didn't have to sell all the time. He was a manager. We started to apply Exitology methods and value acceleration methodology to these folks. And once we identified where these gaps were, and we knew where these linchpin changes could be made for them, first we eliminated prospecting for their clients and started to give them optimized prospect lists directly into the sales team. If you think about what we did there, if that was 10 hours a week per person, we created 45 hours of new time per week on the sales team. We created a new employee from thin air. The next thing we did as we started to optimize this business more is we started to find ways to attract incremental business off of the internet for them. And this was a combination of organic lead generation and business, Google business listings, and a few other things that I can't share publicly here, but we do share actually in greater detail during our executive briefings. And if you'd like an invite to an executive briefing where we talk about this growth model in depth and apply it to your business, please go to exitology.com, click on Contact Us, and tell us what you're up to, and ask for an invite. And we'd love to get you on the list. When we went back and started to measure against our metrics of transferable value and how much money was flowing to the bottom line, and then backing it out to see how we were doing, we were pleasantly surprised in this industrial service company, because after 9 months, not 3 years, after 9 months, we were able to reach our first milestone goal of going from $12 to $20 million of revenue. And the most important thing that happened there was that we maintained and in some cases even increased profit margins. That then shows that the cash flow has grown, and if the cash flow is growing, then your multiple will either grow or stay the same, but the overall value of your business will increase. And so I want you to be thinking right now, perhaps you're running this type of business. Perhaps your personal readiness is starting to go up because maybe you're like that first manufacturer that we talked about, and you're a mom with 2 kids, right? You're overwhelmed. You should be overwhelmed. You got 2 kids. But you're also running this multi-million-dollar a year business. It's okay to be tired and be ready to just tap out. It's also okay to say, you know what? I've got a plan. I want you to be a part of the plan. I want to keep growing for a while. And then when it's time to exit, we're gonna pull that escape hatch quickly. It's all good. However you want to go there, the value acceleration methodology can help. And so be thinking about, is it more of a personal readiness thing? Is it business readiness? Like, where are you? Because it's always going to be both, but usually there's one that's a little heavier than the other. All right, we'll be right back in about 2 minutes. You've been listening to the Exitology podcast on International Business Growth Radio.